Poker2Nite is brought to you by Bluff Magazine, the world's leading poker publication. Welcome back to Poker2Nite. Be sure to stick around later for Dana Workman and the Weekly Misdeal. Now, earlier you saw Justin Bonomo tell us what a perfectionist he is. Well, Bonomo is widely considered to be one of the best analytical thinkers in the game. The hand we're about to show you is from the $5,000 mixed hold'em event from the 2008 World Series of Poker.
Now, mixed hold'em means the game switched back and forth between limit and no limit. On this particular hand of no limit, the blinds were 6,000, 12,000 with a 1,000 chip ante. The button in both blinds, Roland DeWolf, Chino Ream, and Justin Bonomo, were three-way to an unraised flop. The flop came down 8-8-7 with 2 clubs. Let's hear the rest from Justin in the tank.
I decided that with Roland's limping range, like he can have a lot of hands like Queen 10, maybe a really bad ace or something, maybe a smaller pair than the board. So I think it's a good spot for me to bluff. It might just have completely missed him. So I fire out a bet of about 2/3 of the pot, 30,000, and Roland calls me and Chino quickly folds. So this was kind of an awkward spot for me. I knew that Roland was one of the looser players at the table, but he's also a very psychological player. He knows when people like to bluff, and he likes to make, big calls. So I pretty much decided I wasn't going to fire any big bluffs against Roland unless it was like a really great spot. And this turn card just happened to be a great spot. I picked up a flush draw. I was pretty much done with the hand, but since I improved to a flush draw, I decided to continue with a bluff. So I fired out 88,000 on the turn, and of course he called. When Roland called my turn bet, I figured that his most likely hand is a pair smaller than the board. Maybe he has a 7, something like 7-6 suited that he limped the button with. But I thought it was virtually impossible that he had an overpair or an 8 in his hand. So I remember after he called the turn bet, I was thinking of what he might think my possible hands are. I think my most likely hand there is a draw. And that actually is what I have. I have a spade draw. So my plan was to bluff any card that makes an open-end straight complete or a club flush draw complete on the river. And of course, if a spade comes in, I'm going to bet for value. So the river card was the queen of clubs, which just smacks my range. Like if I don't have a club draw, maybe I have a couple over cards, and a queen could easily hit that. But my most likely hand there really is a club draw. So I think that Roland really has to be afraid of that card. And I decided to play it exactly like I would if I did have a club flush, so I bet 200,000, which is, a fairly big bet on that river. Yeah, that shot you see of me there is my classic poker face. I think it's really important that when you're playing high stakes poker with the cameras on, you got people in the audience cheering for you, that you just really can't succumb to the pressure and you need to keep that stone cold poker face. So it doesn't really matter what you're thinking. Sometimes I just try to zone out and forget that I'm actually playing a hand so that it's impossible for my opponent to get a read on me. Some people are involved in the moment thinking, oh my God, please don't call, please don't call. But for me, I just kind of zone out and just forget about it if I can.
Roland will make the call, though.
Great call.
Wow.
I've been asked by a lot of people that if I had to do this hand over, would I do it the same way? And to be honest, I'm not really sure. I think that I did a good job of representing a range of hands. Like, I think it really makes sense for me to have a flush there. Although I'm not really sure if I had a great read on Roland and what level he was thinking on and what level he would call me. So I definitely made a good play. And I think I would do it again, but at the same time, maybe I chose the wrong opponent to make this play against.
Nothing is worse than hearing that word, call, when you're bluffing.
Well, just don't get called.
Well, I don't bluff, so it's not a problem.
Keep telling people that. Speaking of picking people off, it's time for Dana Workman and the Weekly Misdeal, brought to you by Bluff Magazine, the world's leading poker publication.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to the Weekly Misdeal, your one-stop shop for all poker's meanest headlines, from soup to the nuts. This week, we take a look back at some of the year's more ridiculous headlines. There's been plenty to laugh at, and I'm here to make sure we don't forget any of it. So here are my favorite stories from 2009. Number 3, Phil Ivey wagers more money in bracelet side bets than he took home for first place prize money in the tournaments. Not surprising, considering he makes more money off a Lakers win than the Lakers do. Number 2, for the first time ever, the Poker Hall of Fame opened its nomination ballots to the general public, and lo and behold, but who was nominated? None other than 23-year-old Tom Dwan. It's the Poker Hall of Fame. I didn't see anyone giving Macaulay Culkin the Lifetime Achievement Award after Home Alone. That's what happens when you open things up to the internet. Sadly, Dwan only barely edged out the next biggest internet vote getter, your mom. And number 1, who can forget the biggest news in poker? Annie Duke loses heads up to Joan Rivers on Celebrity Apprentice. I think I speak for the entire poker world when I say, Annie, you can't even hold a candle to her. And I mean that literally. Her face actually might melt off. I'm Dana Workman, and this has been your weekly misdeal, pulling this show out of the muck since 2009.
All right, Dana, thank you as always. Still to come, most recent WPT champion Daniel Alaei answers one of our on-the-spot questions in Under the Gun Plus 30 on Poker Tonight. Poker Tonight has been brought to you by UB.net. Welcome back to Poker Tonight. I'm Scott Huff, and alongside me is Joe Sebok. Now, our next segment deals with cash games versus tournaments. And in order to better educate Sebok, if you wouldn't mind dusting off the Poker Tonight dictionary and explain the difference to the people at home between the two.
Absolutely. Let's get to it. So with tournaments, the blinds are always increasing. You can't just get up and leave until you bust. And only a certain number of those people playing are actually going to make money at the end by cashing. Now, in cash game poker, the blinds do not go up. You can get up and leave at any point, just quit the game, and you can keep all of the money that's sitting right there in front of you that you win.
All right, and as a result, some cash game players have a really hard time adjusting to tournaments and vice versa. I mean, especially with the amounts that they're playing for. If you're playing in a game where one big blind is $4,000, are you really going to sweat a $10,000 buy-in for a tournament? Well, that's the question we asked point blank of last week's WPT winner Daniel Alaei in our newest segment, Under the Gun Plus 30.
It's not always easy. A lot of times in the beginning, I'm a little restless, and I play probably not proper tournament strategy. I probably play a little bit too aggressive to try to either build chips or get over it, and it's probably not the best strategy. And it's something I've been trying to work on, but it's not always easy. A lot of the guys that play strictly tournaments, when they sit down at a tournament, that's the only thing that's on their mind. They play like their life is on the line, and it's just simply not like that for me. I kind of wish it was, just for the tournament's sake. I mean, I think I would have better results and I would do better in tournaments. Generally, I need some kind of external motivation, like side bets or something, to get my full attention. But I do what I can.
It really didn't seem like you had any trouble focusing about a week and a half ago at Bellagio.
Yeah, meanwhile, I can't focus in a 9-person tournament, so congrats to Daniel again. Just one more thing before we go, though, Joe. It is the new year.
Yep.
You want to sing Auld Lang Syne?
Should all I guess not.
That wasn't very nice. See you in 010. All right, that's all the time we have for Poker Tonight. Join us again next week, but in the meantime, be sure to check out UB.net for info on the Poker Tonight Pro Challenge. But for now, I'd like to thank our guest, Gavin Smith. Thank you. For Dana Workman and Joe Sebok, this is Scott Huff saying keep our seats open and Happy New Year.